Hey guys, we're back for another chapter of Super Gifted by Gordon Norman. We met the characters to start with in the last chapter yesterday. So, second day of school, very exciting. Hope you're settling in. All right, this chapter is called Super Stoked, and it's from the perspective of Noah Euclid. I used to go to the Academy for Scholastic Distinction, the top-rated gifted school in the state. According to Oz, my former homeroom teacher, I had the highest IQ of any the faculty had ever come across. They held weekly staff meetings on how to keep me stimulated and challenged. They even sent a group of teachers to a conference in Switzerland on how to motivate students at the highest rung of the intelligence ladder. I was bored out of my mind. I once saw this video on YouTube where a kid was complaining about a classmate being a know-it-all, and I was amazed at how insensitive that was. It's no fun to be a know-it-all because you know it all. You can never be surprised or shocked or scared or thrilled because whatever happens, you already saw it coming. Know-it-alls shouldn't annoy people. Everybody should feel sorry for us and relieved that they don't have this problem. My teachers at the academy threw the hardest stuff in the world at me, and I threw it right back at them. And none of it challenged me as much as one souffle in home and careers at regular school. My project was a triumph of data mining, distilling centuries of recipes into a list of ingredients no single chef could have come up with. Things like cardamom and quail eggs, camel's milk, and finely ground and roasted durian seed. Okay, ew. Scientifically, this should have been the most magnificent souffle in the history of cooking. Instead, it burned like chlorine trifluoride, a key ingredient in rocket fuel. The fire chief commented that he hadn't smelled anything like it since the great fertilizer factory explosion of 2006. My teacher, Mrs. Venzia, said, "You must be very disappointed, Noah." How could I ever explain it to her? I wasn't disappointed, I was stoked. If I was bad at one thing, logic dictated I could be bad at other things too. It was like discovering a whole new world. There was an old song from the 1960s called "Be True to Your School" that always perplexed me. Why would anyone form a sentimental attachment to a building? There was nothing to be true to except bricks and mortar and glass and a few dozen other materials. But now I was starting to feel real affection for Hardcastle Middle School. It had to be the greatest school in the history of education. It was teaching me how to learn when before that I didn't need to because I already knew it all. Hey, I think you guys can understand an attachment to someplace. Because those of you guys that have been in 216 for a year or two, you understand that. Some days, the learning started even before I arrived at school. Like this morning, I was on the bus. When at the stop after mine, this big guy got on, lumbered down next to me, and said, "Hey kid, this seat's taken." "Of course it's taken," I agreed. "I'm sitting in it, but there's a vacant spot next to me. Feel free to use it." "Beat it, nerd." He picked me up by the collar and tossed me across the aisle. A moment later, my book bag slammed into my chest. I was about to protest the rough treatment when I realized something. In my old seat, the window was open, and it was quite chilly outside. It wasn't a problem for him. He was a bigger, hardier person. So he wasn't being mean, he was doing me a favor. When we were getting off the bus at school, I thanked him for his thoughtfulness. He stared at me and then looked up at the sky. So it was about the weather, as I suspected. The social world at real school could be tricky to navigate, but the people were really nice if you only took the time to understand them. I still went to the academy part-time. Donovan and I traveled by minibus for robotics, but I wasn't that into it. Heavy metal was a good robot, but any machine was, by definition, predictable. Every line of code in its computer software could be broken down. Its hydraulic, pneumatic, and mechanical systems could be analyzed and understood. Any operation that didn't go exactly according to design could be traced back to a specific malfunction, one that could be corrected and repaired. It was the opposite of YouTube, where, if you clicked on a video, you might get a kid on a pogo stick, or a rocket launch at Cape Canaveral, or some guy playing the piccolo with his nose or anything at all. The best part of heavy metal was the lower portion of the main body, just below the left lifting arm. I put it there myself. It was a picture of Tina Patterson taken at the hospital when she was only 3 hours old. Normally, Donovan was in charge of decorating our robot with images downloaded from the internet. So far, he had the flag of Namibia, an image of Abraham Lincoln with shades on, a small poster that said, "Pandas are people too." But my picture was better because nothing about Tina could ever be bad. And not even YouTube was as predictable as baby Tina. You never knew in advance if she was going to smile, scream, pass gas, gurgle, or spit up all over you. No one could be a know it all about Tina, not even me. She was a universal mystery, but that was okay. Whatever she did do, it was fine because her mom let me hold her. A lot. In a way, Hardcastle Middle School was just as unpredictable as Tina, which is why I liked it so much. It was a lot more crowded than the academy, so the hallways were chaotic, especially for a short person like me. That was another example of how the academy, which was supposed to be so challenging, was easier than here. Just getting from room to room without being elbowed, stepped on, or slammed into a wall was a learning experience. Sometimes Donovan or one of those two guys named Daniel would walk with me. That was something I never had before friends. My favorite class, one the academy didn't offer, was gym. All the subjects where I had room for improvement, it was number one, even more than cooking. All phys ed classes were held in the old cafeteria, since the gymnasium we shared with Hardcastle High was being renovated after part of a broken statue bowled into it. From the last book. Gym had to be the happiest class in the whole school, always ringing with laughter, mostly when I tried to perform some physical skill. Except Donovan, come to think about it. He was always arguing with one of the guys or jumping in front of me, especially when we played dodgeball. Donovan was a terrible dodgeball player. He was constantly getting hit. Even when he'd already been eliminated, he would hurl himself between me and the ball, getting yelled at by players and earning lots of detentions from Coach Franco. You know, Donovan, I advised, trying to give back some of the loyalty and support I'd received from him since arriving here. You really ought to chill out. That was one of his expressions. And maybe you should practice dodgeball skills in your spare time. You're black and blue. I didn't get hit once. He clenched and unclenched his fists, which didn't seem like chilling out at all, as I understood the term. Or maybe he was focusing on searching for my pants, which was kind of a gym class tradition. Whoever was picked last when we chose up teams got his pants hidden. I was really looking forward to the time when I could be on the hiding part and not the finding at the end. People were definitely different here compared to the academy kids. Louder, rougher, sometimes meaner, but I preferred it. People lived their lives here instead of obsessing over grades or prizes or internships or getting into Stanford or Yale. You heard the phrase, "who cares?" at least 50 times a day. And a lot of those "who cares" kids had better grades than I did. What a thrill that was. I was getting good at mediocre academic performance that I was called to see Mrs. Ibramovic, my guidance counselor. She launched into a speech about how to try harder and attend extra help sessions because I was on the verge of failing some of my classes. I got so emotional that I teared up. In my wildest dreams, I could never have hoped that I, Noah Euclid, would one day be in danger of flunking a subject. "There's no need to cry," she said quickly. "There's still plenty of time before the end of the year. Don't give up hope." I nodded, but I was still too emotional to manage any words. "It's going to be all right," she soothed. "We'll get you the support that you need. Let me take a look at the transcripts from your last school." She sifted through my folder and frowned at my records from the academy, which told of my 206 IQ, my 100% average, and the scholarship offer I received from Princeton on my 10th birthday. "Well, this can't be right," she concluded, and put the file away. "Now listen, Noah, there's nothing to be upset here. We'll put together a personalized study plan for you. And, maybe consider some remedial classes." I walked out of that office feeling 10 feet tall. Humming "Be True to Your School" under my breath, I paused in front of the big bulletin board outside of guidance. What an awesome place this was. At the academy, there wasn't a single extracurricular activity that I wouldn't automatically have been number one at. Everyone was different here. There was a golf team, a group that made quilts for residents of the local assisted living home, kids who volunteered at the animal shelter, a synchronized swimming club, rock climbers, coin collectors, a bluegrass band. It went on and on. Giddy from my meeting with Mrs. Abramovic, I felt an urge to join absolutely everything, but that was impossible. There weren't enough hours in the day. My eyes fell on the very last poster on the board. Calling all dancers. The lacrosse team needs cheerleaders. Can you bust a move and raise the roof? School spirit. Exercise. Fun. Support our Hardcastle Hornets. Sign up here. As I saw it, I knew it was tailor made for me. And the word school spirit put it over the top. Be true to your school. That's what I wanted to do. Show this fantastic institution of learning how grateful I was for the opportunities it was giving me. And what better way to do that than by pledging my body and heart to supporting one of the sports teams? As I signed my name on the dotted line, I'd never felt better about anything in my life. Head held high, I started for the computer lab in the library. I didn't know anything about being a cheerleader, but I was sure there was a lot about it on YouTube. In the hall, I passed Donovan. Hi, Noah, he said absently. Then he wheeled and grabbed my arm from behind. Wait a minute. I don't like that look on your face. What are you up to? I thought this year couldn't get any better, I told him. How wrong a guy could be. All right, Chapter 3, Super Cheerful. And this is from a character named Megan Mercury. This is a new character to us. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? The seasons. Not fall, winter, spring, and summer. I meant football season, basketball season, and lacrosse season. The reason I left out soccer, wrestling, and baseball is that none of those sports had cheerleaders. I was the head cheerleader at the Hardcastle squad, the only girl in school history ever to earn that position as a sixth grader and hold on to it for all 3 years. I wrote our cheers, I choreographed our routines, and when someone had to do a flip off the top of our human pyramid, it was me. I loved cheerleading because it was so positive. You cheer for something, not against it. We were even positive towards the opponents that we were grinding into hamburger. Our squad always had a good effort, or we're proud of you too. I made sure of that. I was in charge of everything, including recruiting. It was easy to fill out the squad for football season. Who didn't want to be a football cheerleader? I dropped off a little for basketball, but the season I really had to hold my breath for was lacrosse. It was an amazing sport, but it just didn't get the kind of buzz the others did. And I had to admit the guys could look pretty strange with that bulky padding up top and skinny bare legs sticking out on the bottom. We had a great team, though. We went all the way to regional finals last year, and this year the guys were confident that they could make it to state. They deserved our support. They deserved the best cheerleading squad our school could put together. So I was relieved when I approached the guidance office and saw the sign-up sheet was at least half full. Way to go, ladies! Hash Taggart, our star midfielder, was standing at the bulletin board checking out the names. I flashed him thumbs up and he responded with a confused expression. The squad, I said by way of explanation. We must have 9 or 10 girls. Yeah, but whose? Hashtag pointed to the last name on the list. Noah Euclid? I frowned. Never heard of her. Maybe she's new. Isn't Noah a boy's name? Not always, I replied. I went to camp with a girl named Noah, but come to think of it, she spelled it without the H. I'll ask around. Someone must know her. I turned out to be wrong about that. No one knew a girl named Noah Euclid. I asked all the other cheerleaders on the sheet, and they came up empty. Whoever she was, she didn't sign up to be with one of them. I widened my search. There were 900 kids at our school. I was pretty connected. Wherever she was, she didn't sign up with one of them. Oh, I'm sorry. I widened my search. There were 900 kids at our school, but I was pretty connected. If the head cheerleader couldn't be at the center of things, who would be? Hashtag was asking too, and he knew everybody, or so I thought. He reported back to me. None of the guys had gone with a girl named Noah. She wasn't anybody's kid sister. We were beginning to think that someone had put that name on the sign-up sheet as a hoax. I began mentally choreographing routines for a 9-person squad, confident that the 10th name on our list was a ghost. And then one day, Daniel Nussbaum approached me, a goofy grin on his face. I hear you're looking for Noah Euclid. This wasn't a cheer-positive thought, but you didn't stay popular for 3 years hanging out with the likes of Daniel Nussbaum. Still, I was sucked in by the possibility that the Euclid mystery might have an actual solution. You know her? The grin widened. Yes and no. Follow me. He led me to the old cafeteria, which we were using as a makeshift gym until the real gym was ready again. Coach Franco had set up an obstacle course, and there were kids all around the big room tackling different athletic challenges. Daniel elbowed me in the side and nodded in the direction of the vaulting horse, the first station in the course. This skinny, round-shouldered kid I didn't recognize burst out over the starting tape. hit the springboard, and launched himself into the air. He got about an inch and a half off the floor and slammed face first into the obstacle. He tried 2 more times before the coach took pity on the poor guy and boosted him to the top. But as he was crawling across it, he overbalanced and slid down the side to the mat. Go around it, Coach Franco rasped. Wow, I breathed, watching the kid trip over every single tire he was supposed to run through in the next part of the course. Who's that? Daniel beamed at me. That would be Noah Euclid. But I honestly thought my head might explode. That's a boy. They have guy cheerleaders too, you know. Yeah, but we don't. He shot a disapproving look. That's sexist. I was babbling. I mean, we never had guys before. Who would want to join an all-girls squad? You and I might not be smart enough to understand. Noah Euclid is gifted. What's his gift? I demanded. An internal gyroscope set on random? Daniel laughed appreciatively. Good one. My stomach twisting, I watched Noah take on the rest of the course. He knocked over orange cones. He knocked over garbage cans. He knocked over a couple of guys who were trying to pass him from behind. But that wasn't the worst of it. Sure, he couldn't overcome the obstacles, but what was really horrifying was the way he ran between them. Headlong, flailing, all 4 limbs moving in different directions. He looked like a spider that fell into the toilet and was swimming for his life. Daniel was laughing now. Lots of luck explaining this to the lacrosse team. This isn't over, I said grimly. As I stormed through the halls, 6th graders scrambled to get out of my way. Be positive, I reminded myself. We cheerleaders were trained to keep smiles on our faces at all times, even if a meteor fell out of the sky and flattened the field in the middle of our routine. But this was much more serious than that. My destination? Mrs. Torres, the cheerleading coach. She taught science for her regular job. She left her class in the lab, and I confronted her in the hall. What's so important, Megan? There are 7th graders with Bunsen burners in there. Mrs. Torres, someone named Noah Euclid signed up for the lacrosse cheerleaders and... She held up her hand like a traffic cop. Say no more. I know all about Noah. Just because we've never had male cheerleaders before doesn't mean they're not eligible. Those are the rules. Everyone is welcome to join any club or team. I'm sorry. I don't care so much that it's a boy, I pleaded. I care that it's that boy. He's the most uncoordinated person I've ever seen. He could never learn our routines. I got the stop sign again. That's enough. When I saw his name on the sheet, I went to see Noah. Not your typical 8th grader, I'll grant you. But I think he could be good for our squad. Good? I choked. How? To be honest, when I met with him, I was planning on taking him out of it. Instead, he wound up talking me into it. He wants to be a cheerleader out of pure school spirit. There's something we don't see enough of these days. It might help some of the girls to cheer along someone who isn't just doing it for the glory, attention, and a cute outfit. That made me bristle. No offense, Mrs. Torres, but that's a little insulting. Some of us take cheerleading seriously. It's not about the outfit. I mean, the outfit is pretty cute. I drifted off topic for a moment, thinking about our cheerleading costumes, which were perfection, designed by me, of course. Wait, what's he going to wear? She laughed. Not the miniskirt, obviously. We'll keep it simple. Plain white pants and white sneakers instead of those tasseled boots. I think the jacket will fit. He's not very muscular. Understatement of the century. Noah had arms like bent coat hangers and shoulders the width of a fire hydrant. Next to all those top-heavy lacrosse guys, he was going to look like a string bean with Coke bottle glasses. Everyone's going to laugh at us, I predicted mournfully. Her expression turned disapproving. You've just illustrated why we need Noah on the squad. It's fine to impress people, but it's not fine when you're trying to weed out the people you don't think are impressive enough. If you're such a good choreographer, develop a routine that fits his style. His style is falling down and wiping out everyone around him, I protested. One thing about Mrs. Torres, she expressed her anger by becoming extra quiet. Well, Megan, if you can't hack it, I'll accept your resignation as head cheerleader. That shocked me a little, but I kept my cool. There was no way Mrs. Torres was going to kick me out. I was the best cheerleader to come around this place since the legendary squad that inspired me to become a cheerleader in the first place. It would take a lot more than Noah Euclid to change that. Stay positive, I coached myself. I wasn't anti-Noah, I was pro-squad, which meant that I couldn't let that clumsy little twerp make us look like idiots in front of every lacrosse fan in the county. It was time to bring out the heavy artillery. All right. There you go. See you tomorrow.